Okay, there we go. Yes, I think the sound should be okay. I think the sound should be okay. We're going to find out in just a moment. Oh, sound is not okay.
Should be okay.
Yes,
We're
it
gonna
is
find
okay.
out in just a moment.
There we go. Yes, the sound is okay. All right, 101. We're going to start in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yep. And it's a very warm Monday. My goodness. But folks, I don't mind this weather. Uh, the owner of the restaurant told me they already got him. Um, okay. Let me double check. We're going to talk with Justin Katz coming up. Our segment politics this week, but also some of the news of the weekend, news of the week. It is a happening. Yes. Just check that. This one. There we go. Okay. And we're live on YouTube as well. Folks, the YouTube channel is really picking up. Yes, it is. There we go. All right. And Facebook. And we should be good to go. We are live. Yes. Check this. I'm sure we're fine, actually. And we'll check here. Yes. Politics this week with Justin Katz. We're off and running. We're going to be starting just a moment. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Some unexpected family in town last night. So we were not live, but we should resume Road Patrol Live later tonight. We were with the Westerly Police on Friday night. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit. Some people, Gabe Amo. Folks, you got to realize that some people, I'll touch on it. A lot of people watch this stuff later. Sometimes people will say, hey, why are you posting this again? Well, why can't I post it again? Not everybody sees it the first time. People comment on videos from 5 years ago. Not everybody is like day to day. So we always do that. Sometimes 3 times. If you've seen it, you scroll past. Other people are like, hey, I haven't seen this before. So a lot of people need to chill out. All right, there's the Facebook crew. Here's Cheryl. Just double check. No, I think we're good. Good God. Okay. And we're going to start in 1 minute. 1 minute out. Yes. There we go. Okay, we're also going to go back to the we'll be mobile. Oh, good. And we're going to start in 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute away. And then we will begin, and then we'll talk with Justin Katz, managing editor of anchorrising.com, and also some of the other news of the weekend. Good afternoon, Linda. Everyone should be able to watch on Facebook. So we're Facebook, X, and YouTube. And then obviously the radio. Okay. And there we go. Just in case. Okay. And we will begin. Well, folks, very warm Monday afternoon. We are live. This is the John DePietro Show. As I said, now right now, we're live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Now we're also live, obviously, on our Facebook page. Share that you are watching on Facebook. Facebook during this time is everybody. It's not just subscriber only. When we do Road Patrol Live, we do subscriber only, but this is everybody. We're also live on X, YouTube, and you can listen to the program on our website, which is depetro.com. But again, 1 to 2 right now, live AM 1380, 99.9 FM. This portion of the program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Right now, they have delicious homegrown corn. They have fresh vegetables. They have delicious fresh peaches. Stop it and see them. 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown, right off of Route 4. So maybe you're coming back from the beaches. What a beautiful beach day. Stop it and see my friends. They're open 7 days a week. They're a full-scale nursery. Now, they also have annuals, perennials, trees, and shrubs. Stop it and see them. Steve and Debbie and Junior and Lauren and Byron. They also have hanging impatiens, pansy, marigold bags, large selection of beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants and herbs, but especially stop in for those fresh vegetables. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. They're open 7 days a week. Now, our website, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue in West Warwick. Now, they also have the market at Coesit. I was in yesterday. I had a nice time with Jim, the owner, very good friend of mine. The Coesit Inn, by the way, if you are Polish, they have Polish specialties in the market at Coesit. But they're always, Coesit Inn, they're open 7 days a week. They are always updating their menu, whether it be the chef special of the pork chop or the pierogi. Again, they have, if you're Polish, they have specialty Polish items in the shop at the Coesit Inn. And then they also have the traditional surf and turf, or they have steamers. They're open 7 days a week, nice air condition, plenty of safe, fresh parking. They have tequila lime chicken. They have summer turkey salad, seafood melody bowl, chowder clam cakes, or just the clam cakes. Stop it and see my friends at the Coesit Inn. They also have the nice big bar area, great place you can spread out. Now remember, this is also the perfect spot for collation lunch. Someone has passed away. You have the funeral mass. You have the funeral. Now where are we going to go? The Coesit Inn, now they're open 7 days a week. So they could handle the collation lunch. They could handle 50 people. They can handle 100 people. They could handle 150 people, the Coesit Inn. And then they also have various, grilled chicken, hummus salad, chicken Caesar salad, obviously, delicious New York sirloin. They have pot roast, homemade meatloaf, the Coesit Inn. They also have roast stuffed turkey, which is delicious seafood, fish and chips, grilled salmon, baked stuffed shrimp, sausage ravioli. They have shrimp scampi, which is delicious there. And then they have different pizzas and everything. And of course, all of your different, whether it be maybe you just want to have a sandwich, tuna melt, a slice, filet steak sandwich is just delicious. The turkey club is terrific, or you can't go wrong with a grilled Reuben. The Coesit Inn, but especially they have specialty items for like pierogi, homemade traditional Polish dumpling, lightly pan-fried finish, bacon bits, sauteed onion, available with potato and cheese or cabbage. And then they have specialty items in the market at Cohasset. It's the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue in West Warwick. So, folks, now we're going to talk with Justin Katz, managing editor of anchorrising.com. Let me just, okay, let me just double check. And we're going to talk to him about some of the political stories. You know, something else I want to mention, Seth Magaziner. Now, he is the congressman. Remember, Rhode Island has 2 congressional seats. One is Gabe Amo, and then the other one is Seth Magaziner. Seth Magaziner is CD2, was the Langevin seat. Gabe Amo is Northern Rhode Island over the East Bay. Used to be Cicilline. Before that, it was Patrick Kennedy. Before that, it was Ron Meekley. For many years, it was St. Germain. But now it's Gabe Amo. I think both of them beatable. Both of them are beatable. I think Seth Magaziner, the fact that he does not live in the district, number one. Number two, he barely won. He lost day of voting to Alan Fung. He only won because of the mail ballots. But I think the fact that Seth Magaziner, Congressman Seth Magaziner, who does not live in the 2nd District, who isn't getting anything done in Washington, who had to address the fact that his dad rode on the Epstein flight. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein certainly is right now. I think Seth Magaziner, that's someone, folks, both of these people, neither one should be in Congress, but they happen to be in Congress right now. All right, joining us right now, it's time for our segment, Politics This Week. Joining us, he is Justin Katz, the managing editor of anchorrising.com. Good afternoon, Justin.
Good afternoon, John. Great to see you.
Justin, let's start off. Seth Magaziner, it's kind of, it's not necessarily new, but the amount of attention the whole Jeffrey Epstein matter is garnering right now. And so much of this to me is the Democrats just trying to make hay, against President Trump. It's always been out there that Magaziner's father flew on the Epstein jet. I think in the past, you and I have talked about, I think he gets a free pass for the most part from our local media. They wouldn't be so forgiving as if he was a Republican. But because of what's going on right now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts that he is speaking out on it, I think for the first time. And just what do you make of his explanation about admitting his father, not once, but I believe several times, flew on that Jeffrey Epstein jet?
Well, what's interesting, first of all, is that the media is now interested in this story because they think they can get Trump. They've ignored it, not only Magaziner, but Epstein generally for years. And now it's an issue because they think they can get a Trump, which makes me wonder if there's some bit of rope-a-dope here where he's letting them speculate and then he'll release all this information. As to I thought the story in the Providence Journal was interesting because they go into minute detail trying to make it seem like Ira Magaziner, he never went to Epstein's island. He was using the flight here and there, but then they'll turn around and make wild speculations about why Congress is going out of session and so on, based on a New York Times article. There's no investigation of that, trying to say they're trying to hide the Epstein issue. I thought that was interesting as well. But what strikes me most of all is that Magaziner and apparently our journalists think this kind of insulates him from the controversy. I mean, Ira Magaziner was flying around the world on behalf of the Clinton Foundation, which is deeply enmeshed with bunches of corruption related, including to, revelations we're hearing now about the Obama administration trying to set up Donald Trump with the Russia hoax. So I think it's a really messy situation for them, but they think they can kind of fake their way through it and spin it. So so Seth Magaziner comes out looking at least clean.
Can you and I both agree, if he were not, with the Democrat congressman, I just think, Justin, let's just picture if this were somehow a Republican at the State House or anything like that. My sense is, and my observation is, local media, they don't really push back. They almost treat the story like we hate to, we have to ask about this. We don't want to. But I sense a double standard. If he were a Republican, they would be far more aggressive and on this story.
Oh, sure. I mean, you can see it just in the way, say you see news people talking about, Donald Trump's name appears in the files. That's not very specific. It could be he was telling off Epstein and telling him to get out of his life or something. That could be why he's in the files. But they allude to that, and they make it seem dark and scary. Whereas with Magaziner, they've got flight logs. They've got, oh, he went here, he didn't go there. They don't want to cover it, and there's definitely a double standard. I mean, if you imagine Seth Magaziner as a Republican, and instead of the Clinton Foundation, it was the Bush Foundation or something, the story would be completely different. Not only that, not just this story, but the idea that he doesn't even live in his own district. We would never hear the end of any of these things. They'd be hammering them constantly because they'd want to get a Democrat to take the office again. And we know it's true. I mean, we don't have to pretend it. Have a sense of it. I mean, you're right to be careful, but we've watched this now I've watched it for 30 years. This is just how they operate.
Yeah, that this is certainly not, you don't see, he's not getting ambushed in any way. It's not as if, they have local camera people going up. You don't see anyone, the film of them knocking on the door or anything like that. You don't see them even showing up at their congressional headquarters. They just allow him, almost in a sense, to put out a statement. And I also, unless I missed it, I don't think locally that local media was even connecting the two when they were discussing and carrying about the story. Like, to me, that's not something, everybody's involved. I think it's pretty unique that you have a Rhode Island congressman whose father rode on the Epstein jet. And to me, I think, Justin, there should be far more local coverage on this, at the very least, to get him to explain a little bit more of what the relationship was like.
Or just to dig into those relationships.
Yes.
I mean, you're completely right. Our news media, you can call it a small state syndrome or something. Anytime there's a national or international story, it's all about finding the local angle.
Exactly.
Republican Justin Price was present on January 6th, not at the Congress, but at the rally beforehand. That was a big story. That was the Rhode Island angle. They're constantly looking for Rhode Island angles. Here's one for you. Here's a Rhode Island angle. Yes. No interest for 10 years now. No interest whatsoever.
We'll take a hard pass. Now, Justin, also, granted, it's just a tweet, but I believe the two of them are vulnerable. If the right candidate ran, I think right now the climate can change, but I think both Congressman Gabe Amo and Magaziner, I believe they're both beatable. People are, disgusted with their actions, but I sent to you Amo putting out this tweet. It's always anti-Trump. And now he's trying to say, international travel. Rhode Island's being hurt because international travelers don't want to come to Rhode Island. Justin, as we've covered and seen in the news, it's actually the opposite. The reason they do come for the wrong reasons is because the state operates as a sanctuary state, because Providence is a sanctuary city. Not only do international people come to the state, they stay and hide in the state. It's the opposite. What's your reaction to his tweet, Gabe Amo?
Well, I think you put it well. One of the reasons I think he and Magaziner would both be vulnerable if a worthwhile Republican were to come forward is they're just empty suit Democrats. Any Democrat could fill those suits. Magaziner doesn't even live in his district. I mean, that's how they're just there to echo the Democrat policy. And we're seeing polling now where there's a huge swing toward Republicans. Some people say it's because young adults experience with COVID. Others just the whole Joe Biden incompetence thing. But that swing is real. So they are vulnerable. And to the extent Gabe Amo and Seth Magaziner will just say whatever their party's talking point is, people will notice that, especially since neither of them has any appreciable accomplishments in their own life. They weren't business people. They did nothing except government their entire lives. I'd say they're vulnerable. Of course, Rhode Island, vulnerable just isn't enough because there's so many ways the system pushes Democrats into office.
Yeah, especially, I think Gabe Amo, the biggest opponent we've seen was that senior citizen in Barrington that, said right to his face, you're just trying to scare people. The man, Peter, when Amo went to try to, frighten seniors at the Barrington Senior Center and that man leaving saying, you're a disaster and you're just trying to scare people. You're exactly right. Not only is he an empty suit, you could fill in the blank with any Democrat there. I think he's the most vulnerable. I haven't heard about anyone challenging him. I think if someone wanted to, there could be warning signs. Woonsocket, President Trump won Woonsocket. He won Lincoln. He won Smithfield. He won North Smithfield. Granted, you have the East Bay to deal with, but Gabe Amo, he's not accomplishing anything. He's not doing anything extraordinary. He is just like filling the slot. Now, Justin, I also want to get your take on this because to me, this is so damaging. And I also believe it should be even a bigger news story because there's something that bubbles under the surface. And number one, it kind of involves Nicole Solis, who's been going back and forth against the teachers union, but it has to do with this Rachel Miller. And I realize a lot of people just hear, oh, it's Providence. I don't worry about Providence, but Providence receives millions in state aid. So Rachel Miller is the head of the city council in Providence. And not only did she endorse and send out a mailer where she's basically warning and giving people advice on what to do if ICE shows up. That's really not why I'm mentioning her. But this is someone, you're the head of the city council in the capital city. She negotiated a lease with the charter school. They're going to take over a vacant building on Federal Hill. She sits down with them, negotiates the lease, and then puts out a press release. Done deal. We're glad we could accomplish this. The night before they're set to vote on it, she flips and then allows this thing to be defeated. Now, I want to give credit. Dan McGowan, I think the loudest went after her, but it's so appalling. And to me, Justin, it's another example. The progressives, they have this bizarre alliance with the teachers union. You're talking about the city of Providence. There's a waiting list of 20,000 students that want to go to a charter school. But it's so bad. Who would try to do business with someone that you have their word and agreement, they put out a press release, and then they flip-flop and go back on their word?
Well, I think to me, you put your finger on it. With the progressives have a real problem here because they're for the people, they're for helping the disadvantaged, supposedly. But when it comes down to it, they're for the special interests. And part of that is the teachers unions especially are basically progressive activist organizations who get their money and leverage through their union status. And that's what we really see. And so they pull some strings or pull some favors, and you get the city council saying, you know what, we're going to pass on this. It's going to help our students. It would save us hundreds of thousands of dollars in busing and so forth. But then again, that takes away from the busing unions, right? So they put all this stuff aside because they've got to work with this inside cabal of the labor unions. And that's what it comes down to. And, the Providence Republicans have made some good statements related to this and brought some attention to it, at least statewide. But it comes down to if the Republicans could find a way to point out and get people to really think through these contradictions in what the progressives say and what they do, and show they really do just want to run your life. They don't want to help you. They want to be in charge. That might give them some room to grow. But there's so much. It's just so ingrained voting for Democrats around here.
Yeah, in Providence, I don't know necessarily even if it would have to be a Republican. But what's really missing is even just an independent, because I think there are some voters out there. If someone ran for mayor or ran just on the fact of how appalling the schools are, and one elected official, whether it be Cicilline to Raimondo to now McKee, who took it over, how they continue to let the Providence schools fail. And they allow the teachers union to still hold all these people hostage. I mean, what more evidence do you need that there's a waiting list of 20,000 students? That tells me every parent that has their child in a traditional Providence public school wants them out of there and wants to try to get their child into a charter school. What more would have to happen? I mean, to me, this is the 5-alarm fire. This is the red flag warning that all these people are stepping forward and saying something needs to be done. But boy, there's no profile and courage. Now, speaking of that, Justin, Governor McKee puts out, President Trump is slashing all this education. I mean, to me, he's another on the list of people that failed. He gave up trying to improve the Providence public schools. By the way, public education in Rhode Island hasn't improved under McKee. All they've done is try to cut back on absenteeism, which, I mean, again, you got to start somewhere. But he's always with the partisan politics of that Trump is slashing this. What it's a bottomless pit if you just keep giving these people this money for the public education.
Right. Well, and of course, it's a bottomless pit that McKee and the other insiders are all in themselves, and so they're happy to take it. What comes to mind when we juxtapose these two stories is I think I misinterpreted at the time was when Jorge Elorza, then the mayor of Providence, confronted McKee in an angry way over the Providence schools. Yep. And Elorza's one who
all right, now Justin, I think he's having a minor. He just started to, for whatever reason, he has frozen. So I'm not exactly sure what has happened. He was doing fine, but we can't ignore. Yeah, Justin has frozen right there. Justin Katz. Okay, let's see if Justin, are you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Okay, you are back. I can. Go right ahead. You were mentioning about Elorza confronting McKee.
Right. Well, I think he started to see the light that the unions really are a problem and need to be reversed, and that's something that comes to light, especially when McKee's just making these kind of press release comments about Donald Trump.
Yeah, one other thing, and then we'll go to Katz's Corner. This is the type of thing, Justin, you won't find anyone right about this, but because of my involvement in the city, I mean, I am literally in the city of Providence 7 nights a week, and I go into a lot of the neighborhoods. Anyone that watches, the people know who I am, and probably I'm more recognizable than any of the other media because I just go into a lot of these neighborhoods. But I have communicated with people that are not here legally. They don't have the proper paperwork, what have you. But they've told me firsthand that a big problem in the schools is if they start asking or questioning about their children, that the teachers, this is what I've been told, that some of the Providence teachers will become bullies. And if they start to question how come, they're not learning this, meaning the parent of that, the teachers will push back and in a manner of, what is your status here, to kind of silence them. So it's a terrible dynamic, and it's a bullying factor that I don't hear anyone talk about. But the Providence teachers, it's even worse than that they're failing the students, that the model doesn't work. On top of that, they want the parents and the students to be complacent, or many times, let's be honest, they feel they kind of, the teachers now have them over a barrel, and if you were a little squeamish about either what your immigration status is, or maybe your spouse or a family member, then maybe you don't keep complaining about a teacher or what's going on in a class, or that your child is being bullied. So, I to me, that's just another example about the need for the charter schools. But listen, this is bottom line. You can't do business with someone and I'll give credit. Dan McGowan said, in politics, all you have is your word. You can't, if you're doing business with someone, and maybe it's real estate, and you're with the realtor, and they say this is the price of the building of the house, and you say I'll do it, and they say you have a deal, and you shake on it. They can't turn around and then try to nix the deal or back out of the deal. So this Rachel Miller, to me, who would want to do business with these people? The answer is you wouldn't want to do business with these people.
Well, Providence and Rhode Island altogether, in every way.
Yeah.
No, they don't give you any reason to do business with them.
Yes, no. Folks, it's time for Katz's Corner. This is a story that Justin Katz has found. What have you found for us this week, Justin?
Well, it relates to kind of the story we were talking about with what alternatives there might be. It doesn't have to be Republican, could be independent. Even within the Democratic Party, some people are starting to wonder if there are alternatives. In North Providence, we saw a conservative Democrat win the primary recently for an open seat. Another open seat in the General Assembly is being run for by Leah Boyce Claire. I might be saying that wrong. in South County. She's a local lawyer. She's been endorsed by the new RA League of Businesses, but she's the lawyer of an illegal immigrant who was caught in a sting in Portsmouth for trying to seek relations with a minor. And what's interesting is she seemed to articulate that if an illegal immigrant commits a crime, that person gets additional rights because they have due process now to be heard in court. They need their day in court. I challenged her on that, and she disagreed with my interpretation, but I wrote about it on Anchor Rising, and that's a story worth checking out.
I like that. Folks, check it out on anchorrising.com. Again, our segment, Politics This Week. He is Justin Katz, managing editor of anchorrising.com. Justin, excellent as always, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you, John. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, folks, there it is. Justin Katz, and again, our segment, Politics This Week. This portion of the program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Remember, for all your propane needs, call Propane Plus today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. All your heating and cooling. And more people are discovering propane and using propane. It's Propane Plus. Again, residential or commercial, go online. It's propaneplus.com or call them 401-885-4209 or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. Now, let's see. Joe Ellen sent me an email and saying that she believes they need a new roof. Who did I recommend? I did recommend, and I do recommend, Joe Ellen, Roofco, Rhode Island. Call them today, 401-868-7149. 401-868-7149. Roofco, Rhode Island. They'd be happy to inspect your roof. Maybe it's for wind damage. We've had some wild storms the past few months. Or maybe you have a leaky roof. Every time it rains, suddenly you have a leaky roof, whether it's wind damage or a leaky roof or missing lifted or curled shingles, granules in the gutter. Roofco, Rhode Island. Folks, call them today. Free estimate, 401-868-7149. Now, I share their Facebook page. I share their social media. Remember, if you want to improve the value of a structure, your home or your business, get a new roof on it. And no matter if you have a problem roof, it really doesn't matter what the inside looks like. It's so important to have a proper foundation and roof. Roofco, Rhode Island. Maybe there's wind damage. If there is, the insurance company will pick it up. 401-868-7149 for Roofco, Rhode Island. Well, I want to touch on a couple different things that are in the news. Starting with, I want people to understand there are challenges. This isn't complaining, but I like to explain things sometimes or feel I need to. But there are challenges sometimes, without question, with social media. As people talk about it, everyone has a microphone. People just put things, people think they can put, people have this false sense of freedom of speech. But for those that are maybe you're familiar with it, maybe you're not familiar, we do a lot of live streaming. It's been featured on national television, how much we do. And I do a lot of work with police. And I want you to look and understand for a moment. And I'm talking about this because we ride. I've ridden with Woonsocket Police, by the way. They're tremendous. I like Chief Oates a lot and his staff. We've ridden the most probably with Cranston. We spend a lot of time in Providence dealing with the Providence Police. Also, I spend, Warwick's been pretty quiet so far this summer. Who knows? August, September can be big months. But we also ride and started with Westerly. And I really like the Westerly police officers. And what I want you to understand, and it gives me a different perspective, and it's live. I have people say, I've ridden with police before. Well, not live, right? Now, the show Cops, that's true, but that's generally would be recorded. There's a difference. And then they had live PD, which is on delay. And I think, at one point they were doing something with Warwick. They're not right now. But anyhow, so what is it when I ride with police? It's live. It's a whole different element when something is live. And if you don't believe me, watch a football game live and watch it recorded and see if there's a difference. There's a difference. It's live. It is unfiltered. It is unedited. It is as raw as it gets. And it's local. So it's good local, live, uncensored content. Now, Friday night, I rode with Westerly Police. And for those that were watching, now we have this up on YouTube. We have it, obviously, we do it on Facebook, but we also have it on YouTube. And then sometimes I edit different clips and then post that. So we're with Westerly. And just as we were coming back from the beach area, and I was with Sergeant Bruno, who does a great job, we saw a car pull out, kind of herky-jerky, went into the curb, and then continued. Now, at that moment, we don't know who's driving. We don't know what are the circumstances. All we're not up right on it. We're back a little bit. But all you can see is this a little bit of erratic driving, especially with like banged into the curb. You're talking about the beach area. A lot of people go down, drink a little bit too much, what have you. Now they have to get back to wherever they're going. But my point is at that moment, when we did stop the vehicle, we don't know young, old, Asian, Black, Caucasian, Hispanic, English speaking, non-English speaking, man, woman, trans. You don't know anything. All you know is the vehicle. Now, that particular vehicle, we stopped the vehicle. Sergeant Bruno went over. It turned out, woman just got out of work, had a terrible day. She was with her friend. She knew. She said, I know why you pulled me over, because the way I banged into the curb. Now, it was less than 5 minutes, but we couldn't ignore it. You're not going to ignore something like that. She even knew. She said, as soon as I hit the curb, then I saw you. I'm like, she was thinking it would look like someone impaired. So Sergeant was great, license, registration, and then boom, on the way. Now, a little bit later, we had a different driver. And I'm going to tell you about that because I think it's important, or it is to me anyway. I want to clarify something. But first, I want to remind you about Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Call them today. Call Corey, 401-283-9815. What can they do? They can epoxy your garage. It makes a huge difference. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, 401-283-9815. Now, they'll also work with your parking lot on line striping. Make sure it's compliant. You want to make sure it's compliant. But whether they do epoxy your garage or patio, decorative concrete flooring, or they can resurface a pickleball court, tennis court, basketball court, call them. Quality, get a free estimate. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. I share their social media, 401-283-9815. So we rode for a while, and it was good. And you had a domestic situation. You had another individual that was kind of going off a little bit. And then there was some kids using cannabis out in the open. You're not supposed to do that. So then I sign off. And then just as he's about to bring me back to the station, we hear about that there's someone called in, someone driving erratically. So it's kind of on the way, and I don't want to stand in the way of something like that. So we roll along, and I'm rolling, and what do we notice? But a car did seem a little shaky, and then when it went to pull in off to the side of the road, it went over the curb. So we stop, go up. Another officer comes along. It's a female. We don't know, by the way. You don't know who's driving. You don't know Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. You don't know. All you know is you see a vehicle seems to be a little unsteady and then goes over the curb that way. So they want to talk to the person. Now, again, we had pulled over someone earlier, and it was someone had a bad day, just got out of work, seemed fine, went on their way. This one was a little different. This one even had a container that maybe had something in it. So we post the video, and I'm rolling, and they're asking the person to recite the alphabet, A through M. Person has trouble with that. Person, I could see it kind of goes back and forth either way, but then they're not that steady on their feet. They're mispronouncing things a little bit. Definitely admitted they had been drinking. So it wasn't that long, but they ended up bringing that person in. They put her in handcuffs and they bring her in. Folks, some of the people, the reaction of some people, I have to admit, I don't expect things like that. Why are you posting this? Some people, take this down. Now, number one, I learned this is someone that got banged on a DUI in 2019. I don't know what's going to happen, but they were put in custody, suspicion of DUI, and did admit that they had been drinking that night. So I posted a couple shorter videos of the exchange. It's not something you see every day. People hear about it, but the reaction, people, why are you posting this? There's nothing obscene about it. The police are doing their job. Now, I want to be clear. I think we have, let me rephrase that. I believe we do have a drunk driving problem in the state of Rhode Island. Connecticut is tougher on drunk driving. Connecticut has checkpoints. Massachusetts has checkpoints. Rhode Island doesn't have checkpoints. The Rhode Island drunk driving legislation was written by defense attorneys, and they wrote it in a code where they know how to get around it. One of them was a state senator, and he used to advertise himself that way. He knows if you get busted for DUI, call him. He knows how to get you out of it because he wrote the legislation. Total conflict of interest. I get that the state is a tourism state, so you don't want to scare people off on something like that. But I think that I know there's a drunk driving problem, and we're surrounded by two states. Rhode Island, they say, it's illegal to have checkpoints in Rhode Island. Why would it be illegal? I wouldn't have a problem with a checkpoint. What does it delay you? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Do you understand when someone is, boom, gone, there's nothing you can do. Someone is killed by a drunk driver who decides to get behind the wheel. They're the ones that do it. I do, and I've said this before, I have a problem with people who use the phrase a drunk driving accident. It's not an accident. I've interviewed, when we have Mark Dennison on, his son Matt Dennison, senior hockey player, West Warwick, killed by a drunk driver. Olivia Passeretti, killed by a drunk driver. It's so horrific. Their lives are ruined. I think we're light on it. I would like to see the state. But let me just be clear about this. I don't know what to make of the reaction. Why are you posting this? Some people, don't you have daughters? Can you imagine if that's the way the police operated? Would you like it if police pull someone over? You can tell they're been drinking half in the bag. And then the police officer says, come to think of it, I do have a brother. I should let him go. How would you feel about then that person takes someone out? To me, when police grab a DUI, I view it, they're saving lives. They're taking that person off the road. And I've been with police when they get someone on a DUI. I was with Cranston that time. That guy couldn't even stand. Some Asian guy up in Western Cranston who was, again, lucky he didn't kill someone. But this attitude, I think because, and I want to be very clear, when the police pulled, she is a female, she is somewhat attractive. People go into this, I don't know what to make of it. It's kind of the Karen Reed thing, that there are some people, not all people, but some people, if they see someone, a female, Caucasian, and this woman, fairly attractive, not a model, but not, attractive, in a bathing suit. Don't you understand? It's irrelevant I'm just appalled at some of the they should let her go and go after illegals. What are you talking about? I like the comments towards me. Why are you posting this? The police pulled her over, and they ended up putting her in custody. Why would I not post it? That should be taken down. Enough already. Take this down. Why do I have to take it down? You should not be posting this. Don't you? Someone else. Weren't you young? We're talking about not suspected. She was placed in handcuffs. I am blown away at the mindset of these individuals. They should let her go and go after some illegals. Someone intoxicated and impaired behind the wheel can take a life. It's so bizarre to me, some of these people. We were all young once. It's kind of like when I was with Westerly Police. There was a group of 17. They had a box of alcohol. They didn't have 3 Miller Lights. They didn't have, a roach. They had a bag of cannabis, and they had all kinds of hard liquor and some of those nips. And the police ought to leave them alone. They live in Connecticut. They're about to get in the vehicle. We're not talking about 20. We're not talking about college kids on spring break. We're talking about a pack of 17-year-olds. They still have to do senior year of high school, which technically a month ago, they were juniors in high school. The lenient attitude people have, I don't relate to it. I don't get it. We're not talking about they have an empty beer can in the trunk or there's a roach. It's a full bag of cannabis. And they had hard booze. They had been on the beach drinking all day. Do you know what happens when you're on the beach and you've been drinking all day? A lot of people don't even realize what state they're in. That's not the part that surprises me. What surprises me is the lenient attitude certain people have. Not all. Let them go. What? You have... So, first of all, I don't have any child that is as old as this woman. What? So she is a woman. I don't know how old she is. Early 30s, maybe. I don't even know. But they should let her go. That's the mindset. What if she were black? What if she were Latino? What if she didn't speak English? What if she were 90 years old? Like, what are you talking about? The thing about the police is they're just noticing the vehicle. They don't know who it is. Wow, I admit, I don't understand the mindset. I don't understand the lackadaisical mindset. The lenient mindset. I'm not talking about death penalty. Why don't we start with get him off the road? Let him go. That was the Karen Reed thing. Oh, come on, let her go. She's a white, attractive female. You should let her go. How hard up are some of these guys that post that? I'm not going to go down that path. Another thing. So listen, I'm with the police. We're pulling over what seems to be an impaired driver. I don't know who it's going to be. So we do that. I post that. How about there are some people that continue to post. He only posts people of black and brown. The two biggest stories I've done in the past 3 years, the two biggest stories I've done the past 3 years, is the Karen Reed trial and Charlotte Lester. And Mark Perkins, I guess, for that matter. What do they have in common? They're all Caucasian. He only does stories involving black and brown people. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not easy for the police and some of these people that come up that, listen, either you're going to have law and order, you're not going to have law and order. This portion of the program, I want to remind you, when disaster strikes, call Serve Pro of Providence today. They're fast, they're thorough, they're professional. Serve Pro of Providence. Maybe you have a fire, or maybe you have a flood, water damage, mold. Serve Pro, online, serveproprovidence.com. Serve Pro of Providence. Call them, 401-941-5787. 5500. Fast, thorough, professional, water damage, fire, mold, storm recovery. When disaster hits, you need Serve Pro of Providence. They're on the scene 24/7. 2 in the morning. Call them. Fire, water, storm, mold damage, head on. Latest technology, certified expertise. There's nobody better. When disaster strikes, call the experts. This is who I would call. Serve Pro of Providence, 401-941-5500. Why are you posting? Gee, I don't know. It's live. It's local. It's original content. Take this down. It's been up enough. How do you think she feels? How do you think someone would feel if she ends up hitting someone, injuring someone? Do you understand? A vehicle can be a weapon. Again, I didn't release the name. I don't even know who that is. I have no idea who it is. I was with the police. They did a stop. I thought it was interesting to watch the tests. And then they ended up bringing this person into custody. I don't know how it's going to be resolved in court. I have no idea. But the reaction of people, why are you posting that? I put to one person, listen, I'm not doing, what's your favorite place to have Johnny cakes? What's your favorite place to have clam cakes and chowder? Some guy, yeah, do more of, yeah. Oh, yeah, because we need more of that. No. Much like the city of Providence, the city council, they paid for and sent out a mailer warning residents not to cooperate with ICE. Someone put, that's freedom of speech. That's first of all, it's certainly not free. It's a paid mailer. Freedom of speech. These people don't even understand what freedom of speech is. You're encouraging people not to follow the law. You're encouraging people who are not even supposed to be here, who are seeking sanctuary. You're encouraging fugitives not to cooperate. You're the head of the city council. People, she has freedom of speech. That's not freedom of speech. To me, that's using government funds to try to circumvent law enforcement is what's really going on. I get it, folks. It's the problem. Everybody has the microphone. Everybody has a microphone. There's nothing going back to the young female who they suspected driving impaired. Maybe the case is going to get kicked. I don't know, but we're totally within the rights. You can film anyone. It's Rhode Island's one-party consent. I'm with the police. I'm stunned. I'm not saying there should be a public stoning, and I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting, we're not talking about life in prison, but I'm just thrown at the defensive mechanism. See, to me, that's one of the problems with driving impaired is people have that because it is relatable. I totally admit that. There are people that is one of those crimes that people say, hey, that could have been me that night. Or, oh my God, we were in college. I don't know how we got home, blah, blah, blah. So it becomes relatable, but it doesn't mean it's right. And there are so many options now with these ride service companies. There are. So in this day and age, you can't have people impaired behind the wheel. You can't. We've seen what can happen. Listen, we have a lot of accidents just because people aren't paying attention with texting and driving. Then you bring in whatever. There were people using cannabis. There's people using all kinds of substances that impair their driving. So, but I admit I was stunned by that. The pushback. Take that down. Leave her alone. Why are you pushing that? Posting that? Listen, everybody is a tattooed gang member, right? In like in a and a wife beater. I mean, not everybody looks like something out of HBO Oz. Not everybody looks that way. And it's the same thing. You know what's interesting is in many ways, white collar crime, people have the same reaction as they do to kind of DUI driving, which is whenever I've covered a white collar crime case, people, oh no, he's a good guy, great guy. No, not him. Coaches Little League, blah, blah, blah. That's how a lot of people regard a lot of white collar crime. But remember, and I'm not the first one to say this, you can steal a lot more with a pen, or actually now it's a computer, than you can with a handgun. Right? I mean, there are people that rob people all the time. They're not going to a bank. They're committing fraud in different ways. Folks, this portion of our program, if you're thinking, have you been thinking, it's time to redo your kitchen, or maybe your bathroom, or maybe you have a special project, or you want a new deck, Arch Design Builders. Call them today, Ed and Roxanne, 401-207-4124. Set up the free meeting, free consultation, ARCH, Arch Design Builders. Spectacular. Maybe it's time for a new kitchen. Maybe it's time for a new bathroom or basement or deck or a special project you have. Maybe you want to open up your floor plan, or maybe you want to close up your floor plan, whatever it may be. Arch Design Builders. We're talking high-end, custom build, customer service, the dream team. They're ready to meet with you. Ed and Roxanne, Arch Design Builders. Call them. Meet with them. You owe it to yourself. 401-218-9707 for Arch Design Builders. Well, folks, good afternoon. If you're listening to the radio, you're going to hear coming up the 2 o'clock news. Now, we will be doing Road Patrol Live tonight. It's interesting to me. I mentioned this. I don't hear other people talking about this, other local media. I don't hear local leaders talking about it. But I've talked about it, and that is that I really believe that President Trump, just some activity by ICE, it has served as a deterrent to crime. It has. No one can tell me differently. We see it. When we're out on Road Patrol Live, there's less calls for they need a Spanish-speaking officer. By the way, certain circumstances, I don't think it's a good thing, because there are a bunch of people, whatever you want to say, illegal, undocumented, new arrivals, what have you, but they're not calling the police. A lot of them are not going out. I mean, I hear that from various sources in the city. They have workers, they go to work, they go home, they're afraid to get in trouble. My point is, you don't hear anyone talking that way. We will be out. It does impact law enforcement. But in the city of Providence right now, there's going to be a rally. These people just make things up about police brutality. They want to go after the police. The Providence police, like a lot of police forces right now, are under attack. Forget about it. I'm not even getting into Massachusetts. Massachusetts, that is, I don't know what to make of that. The people of Massachusetts, to me right now, there's no state that hates the police for whatever reason. And they have very good police forces in Mass. I enjoy working with them sometimes and seeing them, but they are under vicious attack right now in Mass, big time. But Providence is dealing with it right now. They are dealing with some backlash, but we're going to be doing Road Patrol Live later. Now, if you are listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. By the way, we will have the Westerly up on the website, depetro.com, probably a little bit later this afternoon. And then I'm going to be on Newsmax tomorrow. I'll give you details on that tomorrow. So in the meantime, folks, stay cool. It is a hot Monday. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news.